Very good evening and welcome to the news tonight, where we get you the day's top stories from India and across the world. Today, of course, a special focus on Bihar, the first phase of polling taking place there. Details of that in a bit. I'm Tracy Shilshi and here are the headlines. 57% voting recorded in the first phase of elections in Bihar. The fate of close to 600 candidates sealed in 49 seats along the Semanchal region. President Pranab Mukherjee begins his first visit by an Indian head of state to Palestine, reaffirms India's commitment to Palestine's separate statehood while keeping ties with Israel strong. Facing brickbats from all quarters for smearing the face of Sudhindra Kulkarni with black paint, Shiv Sena withdraws protests against the book launch of former Pakistani minister Kasuri. More writers give up their Sahitya Academy Awards in protest against intolerance and lack of freedom of speech in the country. The Academy calls for an emergency meet. And KP Sharma Oli takes oath as the new Prime Minister of Nepal, vows to tackle the ongoing crisis amid protests by Madhesi community against the new constitution. Now, after a high-pitched, bitter campaigning that we saw in the first phase of the five phases, the first phase of the phase of elections to Bihar's 243-seat assembly concluded today. Over a span of 2 months, the rival camps, led by Prime Minister Modi and Nitish and Lalu Prasad on the other hand, traded barbs and counter-barbs. And here's what happened during the first phase of polling, which saw a 57% voter turnout.
The first phase of the high-voltage Bihar Assembly elections have come to an end. People queued up outside polling booths from 7 in the morning to cast their votes.
ये तो देश के प्रति मेरा कर्तव्य है, मुझको पहले आकर वोट कास्ट करना चाहिए।
नौजवानों को रोजगार हो, यही सब है और क्या प्रोग्रेस मतलब होना चाहिए।
मुद्दा तो यही है कि मान लीजिए बिहार में शांति हो, ये गुंडागर्दी खत्म हो, सड़क, बिजली, पानी सभी को सुविधा मिले।
क्या विकास हुआ है पिछले बार, उसको देख करके ही वोट देंगे इस बार।
Around 57% voting was recorded in the 49 constituencies from across 10 districts. This is higher than the previous turnout in these seats in the last assembly polls.
During this phase, the turnout for this phase has been very encouraging. While in the previous election, it was about 50.85%. This time on and up till now, the information received is that it is 57%. Maybe that it will step up further by 1 or 2%.
In terms of geographical size, 1/5 of the state cast their vote in phase 1. 49 seats were contested across 10 districts, which include Samastipur, Begusarai, Khagadia, Bhagalpur, Banka, Munger, Lakhisarai, Shekhpura, Nawada and Jamui. In a first, security on voting day was not taken care of by the Bihar police but by paramilitary forces. Additional Chief Electoral Officer R. Lakshmanan said there were no reports of any untoward incident.
दो बूथ है, दोनों बूथों पर एक पे सीआईएसएफ है, एक पे सीआरपीएफ है। पुख्ता इंतजाम है।
मतदान मोर और लेस पीसफुल रहा है, सिवाय 1-2 इंस्टेंसेस को। 2 जगह क्लैशेस के रिपोर्ट मिले हैं, किंतु वो पोलिंग बूथ से काफी दूर हुए हैं और स्थिति नियंत्रण में है।
A total number of 1.35 crore electors were eligible to cast their votes for 49 assembly seats, for which 583 candidates, including 54 women, contested.
डाल लिया वोट, मताधिकार का प्रयोग किया, मुझे खुशी है और मैं चाहता हूं कि देश में अब एक कानून हो और मतदाताओं के जागरूकता का विशेष अभियान चल ही रहा है और चले।
जनता सेक्युलरिज्म के झंडे के नीचे खड़ी होगी, वहाँ पे महागठबंधन को जिताएगी, उसी की सरकार बनाएगी।
Voting came to an end at 3 p.m. in 9 constituencies. Polling in 4 constituencies ended at 4 p.m. and polling for the remaining 36 constituencies ended at 5 p.m. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed 2 rallies in Bihar today, one in Jahanabad and the other one in Bhabua. And Modi, of course, launched a scathing attack on Chief Minister Nitish Kumar and RJD Chief Lalu Prasad over the issue of corruption. He accused the 2 leaders of insulting the legacy of Jayaprakash Narayan. The Prime Minister was referring to a sting video that surfaced showing senior Bihar Minister Avdesh Prasad Kushwaha accepting bribe. Kushwaha resigned soon after.
अगर 4 लाख रुपए की बोली बोली जाती है, हिसाब किताब उस प्रकार से होता है और सरकार में रहते हुए होता है, तो भाइयों बहनों, जयप्रकाश जी को अगर सच्ची श्रद्धांजलि देनी है, इस पाप के साथ जिस राजनीतिक दलों का संबंध है, इस पाप के साथ जिस गठबंधन का संबंध है, पूरे बिहार में चुन चुन करके ऐसे लोगों को साफ कर दो मेरे भाई.
Meanwhile, Nitish Kumar addressed a rally in Aurangabad and he attacked the opposition NDA alliance, saying that they were busy bickering amongst themselves. He also attacked the Prime Minister for campaigning in Bihar, saying that he wouldn't bother to come back for years in the state if the NDA won.
मैंने चुनाव जीत करके गए तो 14 महीना तो बिहार याद आया नहीं. फिर जब चुनाव नजदीक आ गया तो बिहार टहलने लगे. या तो विदेश जाते हैं या बिहार आते हैं.
The BJP, meanwhile, has urged the Election Commission not to ban the live telecast of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's election rallies in Bihar. A memorandum submitted by the delegation alleged that by seeking a ban on the live telecast, the JDU-RJD Congress alliance was trying to attack democratic values. The ruling Grand Alliance had moved the EC seeking a bar on Modi's rallies in the state for allegedly violating the Model Code of Conduct during his speeches. The BJP said that the EC has assured that the live telecast of the rallies will not be suspended.
चुनाव आयोग ने हमें आश्वस्त किया है कि प्रधानमंत्री जी की जितनी भी रैलियां हैं, जो रैलियां की मतदान वाले क्षेत्रों से बाहर हो रही हैं, उनके सीधे प्रसारण पर किसी तरह की कोई रोक नहीं लगाई जाएगी और उन्हें प्रसारण करने की अनुमति पूरी तरह से रहेगी.
Now, as we mentioned earlier, facing graft charges, Bihar's Urban Development Minister Avdesh Kushwaha has stepped down. Kushwaha said that he has sent his resignation to Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, urging him to accept it. The development came ahead of the first phase of polling in the state. A sting operation claimed that Kushwaha took bribe, promising contracts in the next government if his party comes to power. The video was later tweeted by BJP's Bihar President Sushil Kumar Modi. Kushwaha said that the allegations are serious enough for him to step down and allow a fair probe.
गंभीर आरोप है, इसलिए मैंने अपने मंत्री पद से माननीय मुख्यमंत्री को आग्रह करते हुए इस चीज से, इस आरोप से मैं मर्माहत हूं और त्याग पत्र भेज दिया हूं. और जो आरोप लगाया गया है, इसका डट करके जो सही बात है जनता के सामने लाने का मैं कोशिश करूंगा.
President Pranab Mukherjee arrived in Ramallah today for a day-long visit. He is the first Indian head of state to visit Palestine. Earlier, before wrapping up his visit to Jordan, the president underlined India's unwavering support to Palestine's demand for a separate state and a solution to its conflict with Israel through dialogue.
Hours before beginning his visit to Palestine, President Pranab Mukherjee outlined India's policy towards West Asia. The president said that India will continue to support separate statehood for Palestine, but also committed to build strong bilateral ties with Israel. He refused to club its ties with the two countries despite the ongoing conflict. President's visit comes amid fresh clashes in the region. He urged the two sides to resume talks that have been stalled since September last year to resolve the crisis.
Like Jordan, India's traditional support to the Palestinian cause remains steadfast and unwavering, while we pursue strong relations with Israel. Our bilateral relations with Israel are independent of our relations with Palestine. India supports a negotiated solution resulting in a sovereign, independent, viable and united state of Palestine with East Jerusalem as its capital, living within secure and recognized borders.
Earlier, the president urged investors in Jordan to contribute in FDIs in several sectors. He said the targeted bilateral trade between India and Jordan is $5 billion in the next 10 years. The bilateral trade between the two nations crossed $2 billion last year.
India seeks greater foreign direct investment in the insurance, construction, defense production and various sectors. We have opened up these sectors through policies that will encourage investors.
After the day-long visit to Palestine, the president will begin the last leg of his 6-day visit to Israel. The highlight of the president's visit to Israel will be his address to its parliament, Knesset, which is a rare honor for any visiting leader. He will also hold talks with Israeli President Reuven Rivlin and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. MOUs in the fields of culture, education, science and technology will be signed during President's visit to Israel. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, KP Sharma Oli has been sworn in as the new Prime Minister of Nepal. He takes over as the 30th Prime Minister of the Himalayan Kingdom while it reels under violent protests by a section of the Madhesi population. It's a crucial time for Oli as he faces a daunting task of ending the weeks-long protests and restoring trade ties with India.
KP Sharma Oli being sworn in as the new Prime Minister of Nepal. He was administered the oath of office by President Ram Baran Yadav. Two Deputy Prime Ministers, Bijay Kumar Gachadar and Kamal Thapa, were also sworn in. The two leaders belong to groups protesting against the new constitution. This is allegedly their reward for supporting Oli's election in parliament. While Thapa heads Nepal's only royalist party, the Rashtriya Prajatantra Party Nepal, Gachadar is the chairman of the Madhesi Rights Forum Democratic, which chose to break away from the ongoing anti-constitution agitation by the Madhesi community in the southern Tarai Plains. The new government promises to end the violence that has paralyzed the country for nearly 3 weeks. But the agitating Madhesis refuse to budge. Fresh protests erupted in Birganj on Monday.
नेपाल सरकार हमारी बात नहीं सुन रही है, इसलिए शांति आंदोलन में हम लोग को ताक ताक कर माथा में, छाती में गोली मारा गया और सरकार हम लोग को उपेक्षा कर रही है। इसलिए हम लोग अपना अधिकार के लिए आज नक्का पर बैठ कर चक्का जाम किए हैं।
नाकाबंदी हमने किया है तो हम नेपाल के मधेसी है, हम लोग का मांग नहीं पूरा करेंगे तो नाकाबंदी तो चलेगा।
Ready to face the multiple challenges that await him in his new office, Oli held the first cabinet meet Monday evening. The biggest task ahead of him is to restore the disrupted imports of essential commodities from India and end the diplomatic standoff with the country. Another big challenge is to rebuild the quake-hit regions of the country. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, to help us understand this story further, we've got former Secretary of the Ministry of External Affairs, Mr. Rajiv Sikri, joining us this evening. Mr. Sikri, thanks so much for joining us on the news here. First of all, we'd like to know what is your assessment of KP Sharma Oli as far as Nepal is concerned in the current scenario. Is he somebody who can reach out to the Madhesis even better?
Well, his background would seem to indicate that he is unlikely to, because he is considered to be a hardliner and is considered to be one of the key figures who derailed the process and by which the Constituent Assembly went back on the promises that had been given to the Madhesis in 2007 and 2008. So he is a conservative, and if he does change his position, it would be a most welcome development. And I think that if he is wise, he would have to come to some kind of an mutually acceptable deal with the agitating Madhesis.
The Madhesi problem is something that India is also having to suffer as far as, the accusations that India is blocking trade on the border areas. Can KP Sharma's elevation now as the Prime Minister, how is India viewing it? Is he going to be able to solve that, that kind of discontent that we are seeing between the two countries, especially on this issue?
Well, I think the first thing that Mr. Oli needs to do is to get rid of this red herring that it is India which is creating the problem. The problem is one between two sections of Nepali society, the ruling class and the Madhesis, who have traditionally been discriminated against. And I know it personally because I've served in Nepal. So this is a very long-standing problem, that the Madhesis feel they have no share in political power, they're not in the army, in the police, and they're not in the administration in any meaningful manner. They're looked down upon by the people of the hills. And so the whole structure of the new constitution has been made in such a manner that the Madheshis continue to feel discriminated against. I think it's important to remember that whereas this state of affairs is not new and was there for a long time, but when Nepal is going in for a new constitution after so many years of disruption, violence, agitations, then the Madheshis also feel, I suppose, that they must have a share in power. What have they got out of this struggle? And it is this sense of disappointment that is leading them to this agitation, as I can see it.
And in your assessment, of course, having a new prime minister, in no way can we be seeing any kind of resolving of the issue in the near future?
No, I'm not ruling that out at all. I'm only saying that this is a basic problem, and the Nepali establishment has to stop blaming India for all that is happening. Because India is frequently a whipping boy for anything that goes wrong in Nepal. They're very sensitive to it, and so I think if they get out of that first and understand that this is a problem between two sections of Nepali society, that you will begin to solve the problem. Let me also give you a couple of analogies from South Asia. You had in Pakistan, which discriminated against the Bengalis, which led to the creation of Bangladesh in 1971. And you had the situation in Sri Lanka, where the Tamils felt discriminated against, and you had this 20-year-long war. Now, India would certainly not want to see something like that with Nepal happening. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if this problem is not resolved, then one thing leads to another. And this is something that India cannot be indifferent to, because we have an open border. Our security with Nepal is in the first instance on what happens in the Madhesh region. So therefore, India is concerned, but we have rightly said that this is a matter for the Nepali people to sort out. And I think the Nepali politicians are needlessly saying that we have imposed an informal blockade. No, when the trucks which are going into Nepal are being attacked, when they're not feeling secure, when the trucks that have gone there are not allowed to come back, then ordinary truck drivers and their operators and owners would say, well, why should we go there?
Absolutely.
So I think it's a little more complex than is being made out by the Nepali media and some of the Nepali politicians.
No point shifting the blame, of course, to India. Sort it out within yourselves. That's, of course, what's coming out from you.
Need to be...
Yeah, Mr. Rajiv Sikri, thanks so much for joining us on the news tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us on this story, sir. All right, without a quick break here, but still ahead, retail inflation has climbed closer to 5% due to costlier food items. We'll get you details of that in a bit.
Ahead of his visit to Israel, a presidential stopover in Palestine. Does it indicate a shift in India's policy? What would be the implications? Watch The Big Picture at 9:30 p.m. on Rajya Sabha television.
Welcome back. Let's get you some more national news now. In the black ink attack on Sudhindra Kulkarni, notwithstanding the launch of former Pakistan Foreign Minister Khurshid Mahmood Qasuri's will go ahead as planned. Shiv Sena activists smeared black ink, remember, on the former BJP leader's face earlier today to protest that book launch.
We would like to... Mumbai stands for peace and dialogue between India and Pakistan. That's the message sent out at the launch of former Pakistan Foreign Minister Khurshid Mahmood Qasuri's book in the city.
ना धमकी से, ना बॉम्ब बंदूक से, ना गोली से, बात बनेगी बोली से. And today's function, in spite of the threats, is a demonstration that Mumbai indeed stands for dialogue for peace between India and Pakistan.
The purpose of writing this book is to correct certain misperceptions. Unless those misperceptions are handled, directly, there is nothing good will come out of, homilies and sweet talk.
The book launch function was a lesson in peace and harmony between the neighbouring countries, but it was preceded by an attack on Sudhindra Kulkarni. Shiv Sena activists smeared black ink on his face, angered by his decision to hold the book launch in the city.
जो लोग पाकिस्तान के बारे में प्रेम की भावना यहाँ रखते हैं और पाकिस्तान के लोगों को रेड कारपेट डालते हैं, एक बार उसने हमारे जवानों के जो शहीद जवानों के घर में जाके देखिए क्या आक्रोश है.
Shiv Sena has since withdrawn the protest, but it has drawn sharp criticism from across the political spectrum.
We have a right to disagree on any issue, but the way to protest in a particular manner which harms somebody, other person's interest, that is not good.
It is not a case of Kulkarni or Kasuri. It is a case of the liberal democratic ethos of India. The only person who must take a lead on this is the Prime Minister. Unfortunately, he has maintained a stoic and eloquent silence for months.
It is nothing but counter-revolution, nothing but subversion, and they want to subvert the secular democratic polity of the country. They want to denounce the constitution which has been given to us by Dr. Ambedkar and galaxy of leaders.
Kasuri's book, Neither a Hawk Nor a Dove, an insider's account of Pakistan's foreign policy, was earlier unveiled in Delhi. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The fact that book launch did eventually take place in Mumbai. Meanwhile, Kashmiri poet Ghulam Nabi Khyal joined the ranks of over a dozen authors to return his Sahitya Academy Award. The wave of protest started less than a week ago after Nayanthara Sehgal returned her award to protest what she called an assault on India's diversity. The Academy has also called for an emergency meeting later this month after 16 writers joined the protest.
Writers have stepped up protests against the government's attitude towards religious intolerance, killing of rationalists and lack of freedom of speech. At least 9 more have joined the list of writers to give up the prestigious Sahitya Academy Award since Sunday. At least 11 authors have so far announced their decision to return their Sahitya Academy Awards. Kashmiri writer Ghulam Nabi Khyal, Kannada writer translator Srinath DN and GN Ranganatha Rao, Hindi writers Mangalesh Dabral and Rajesh Joshi have decided to return their Sahitya Academy Awards over Kalburgi's murder. Khyal also joined the bandwagon of authors, saying the minorities in the country today feel unsafe and threatened. Earlier on Sunday, Gujarat-based writer Ganesh Devi, Yuva Puraskar-winning author Aman Sethi and 4 other writers from Punjab returned their awards. Kannada writer Arvind Malagatti resigned from the Sahitya Academy's General Council, joining the growing protest by writers over rising intolerance and communal atmosphere.
प्रोफेसर कलबुर्गी का हत्या अभिव्यक्ति स्वतंत्रता पर किया हुआ हमला है. मैंने इसका खंडन करते हुए इस्तीफा दिया हूं. साहित्य अकेडमी भी खंडन करना चाहिए. अकेडमी के अध्यक्ष महोदय इसके बारे में बयान देना मैं उचित समझता हूं.
3 राइटर्स कत्ल हुए. एक बेचारा मुसलमान दादरी विलेज में कत्ल किया गया. अब हम चुप रहे हैं कि हर एक चैनल पर हमको दिखाया गया है कि और राइटर्स अवार्ड्स वापस दे रहे हैं अपने. ज़रूर ये आंदोलन बढ़ रहा है और बढ़ता जाएगा जब तक ये हालात न बदले.
The writers' body has called for an emergency meet later this month over the growing number of writers returning their awards.
मैंने साहित्य अकादमी के कार्यकारी मंडल की संकटकालीन या इमरजेंट बैठक बुलाई है 23 अक्टूबर को. सभी भाषाओं के एक लेखक होते हैं कार्यकारी मंडल में, तो सारी भाषाओं की तरफ से विचार हो जाएगा.
The writers also condemned Shiv Sena's protests against the book launch of former Pak Foreign Minister Khurshid Mahmood Kasuri. They have urged the government to ensure that such incidents are not repeated. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
In other news, retail inflation rose up to 4.41% in September due to costlier food items, beverages and pulses. Consumer Price Index based inflation for August was 3.74%. While vegetables and fruits were cheaper, retail inflation on the pulses and products category rose to 29.76% this month. Food inflation went up to 3.88% from 2.2% in August. But among protein-rich items like meat and fish, price rise slowed to 5.59%. Meanwhile, the factory output in August jumped to a 3-year high of 6.4% compared to 4.2% in July. This was mainly on account of an improvement in manufacturing as well as mining activity and better off take of capital goods. With that, let's get you some more updates from across the country in Nationwide. Normal life was disrupted in Kashmir due to a traders' strike in protest against a petrol bomb attack on a truck in Jammu last week. 3 persons, including a policeman, were injured. The police have arrested 6 persons for the attack. India and China started a joint military training exercise today that will continue till the 23rd of October at the Kunming Military Academy in China. The aim is to strengthen ties between both armies and complement other exchanges between the two forces. The Supreme Court imposed a pollution surcharge on commercial vehicles entering the National Capital Territory. The Apex Court imposed a surcharge of 700 and 1300 on light and heavy commercial vehicles entering Delhi. However, this is an experimental levy that will be applicable only from the 1st of November 2015 to the 29th of February 2016. International news: and the Nobel Prize for Economics has been awarded to US-British national Angus Deaton for his work on consumption, poverty and welfare. The 69-year-old is a leading microeconomist, best known for his study of the choices of individual consumers. While announcing the award, the Nobel Committee said that Professor Deaton has enhanced the understanding of individual consumption choices to design economic policies that promote welfare and reduces poverty. He is 8 million Swedish krona. And now let's get you more international news updates in Global Buzz. At least 5 members of the NATO's international support mission in Afghanistan were killed, while 5 others got injured when a British military helicopter crashed in Kabul. The Puma Mk2 helicopter crashed while it was landing at NATO's Resolute Support Mission headquarters in Kabul. NATO has not released the nationalities of the other victims or the 5 left injured. Protest rallies continued in Turkey 2 days after the Ankara blast last Saturday, in which 28 people were killed. A large group of people also gathered at the blast site to pay respect to the victims. The Turkish Prime Minister said that there is enough evidence that the attack was carried out by 2 suicide bombers, but no group has yet claimed responsibility for the attack. Iran has successfully test-fired a new long-range missile, Imad. It is the country's first long-range missile that can be precision-guided until it reaches its target. The new rocket is capable of scrutinizing the targets and destroying them completely. And now let's change tracks, get you all the updates from the world of sports in Sports Beat. Great Britain came back from 2 goals down to beat India 4-3 on the second day of the Sultan of Johor Cup. James Simpson opened the score for his team in the 6th minute. Later, India's Sumit Kumar levelled the scores 1 each. India then scored 2 quick goals to take the lead 3-1. But Luke Taylor gave Great Britain all 3 points by scoring the winning goal. India will now face Argentina in the 3rd game to be played on Wednesday. World number 1 Saina Nehwal will lead the Indian challenge at the Denmark Open. She will look to continue her dominant run against Busanan Ombungrumphane of Thailand on Wednesday. Saina had clinched the Denmark Open title in 2012. Former world champion Vishwanathan Anand suffered 2 more losses against Azerbaijan's Rauf Mamedov and Russia's Denis Kismatulin in the World Rapid Chess Championship. Anand, who is on a 5.5 points, needs to score massively on the last day to stake his claim for a podium finish. Poland booked their Euro 2016 berth after securing 2-1 victory against the Republic of Ireland in the Euro Cup qualifier. Robert Lewandowski scored his 13th goal of the Euro 2016 qualifiers to equal Northern Ireland striker David Healy's record for the most goals in a qualifying campaign. Ireland fell 1 goal short of automatic qualification for Euro 2016. And that's all we have for you on the news tonight. Thanks so much for joining us.